My name is Dave Morrow. 9 months of each year, I live out of my vehicle. I travel the wilderness by foot on an endless backpacking and landscape photography trip. I want to teach and share the photography and outdoor skills that I use on these trips. I don't want to spend hours editing video or sitting in front of a computer, so I made some rules. First, everything's shot on GoPro. This was the best way I found to record quickly on a consistent basis. Second, I can only spend 20 minutes editing each video. So thanks for watching, and welcome to the Landscape Photography Journals. So I've been out backpacking in the deserts of Utah for about a month now. And right now I'm in the middle of a trip. Just took my tent up, get everything organized. I'm gonna pack up and head out that way today. But earlier today when I woke up, I was drinking coffee, and since I don't travel with anybody out here, sometimes I'll just pick a random thought that I want to kind of go through from the start to the finish of the thought, and then I'll just go off the top of my head with the thought and kind of see where I can take it or see what ideas come out of it without filtering myself or without holding myself back on necessarily what I want to say, but still thinking through each individual statement somewhat. So here's my favorite part about building stuff or creating stuff. I can kind of have all these ideas in my head, and then I can create this goal for this thing I want to build. Consider that like the top level idea. So the overall goal of what I want to build out. Then below that I can kind of break it down into all these subsections of what that final goal contains, like all the parts of the project that kind of add up to give me this final goal I want to go after. And after I break that final goal down into the smallest possible steps of all the different things that I need to go through to get there, I can just start with going through the steps one by one by one. Just get up every day and go on the steps one by one by one until I get closer and closer to finishing out this project or artistic goal or whatever else I want to do at the time. So I think the key thing there is that when I break it all down into the smallest possible steps like that, is that I can see that this thing that looks like a huge idea that maybe is not even possible for me to achieve in my brain right now can be broken down into small steps. And as long as they're logical and they make sense, you'll run into different problems along the way with each of those steps. But when you learn to problem solve constantly by going through those steps and doing that problem solving process, you get self-confidence for your ability to kind of step by step by step until you complete a large-scale project. So I don't think there is anything else to that besides being able to logically break down what you want the project to look like, and then going through the steps every day, getting up and working, getting up and getting after it. I think that's what separates people that do a lot of artistic work in their lifetime versus somebody that is kind of an artist but never really got into it. It's all about just getting up every day and having those small steps that you can do to finish your current project that you're working on. If you get up and work at it every day, over time, over years, decades, whatever, a lifetime, I think the outcome of that will be so big that you can't even imagine what you'll get from it. There's no way any of us can imagine. If you just get up and work at something you care about every single day, I'm interested to see what it'll be like, because that's my plan, but I don't know if it'll happen. I'll work my hardest to make it happen. Everything in my power that I can do, I will push towards with my energy to make it happen. But today I wanted to talk about having self-doubt, or maybe having lack of confidence with being able to have these ideas and create these projects. Because if you have this really cool idea for a project, automatically when you think of this huge project, your brain says, well, you're not going to be able to do that. You can't figure that out. It always has the doubt factor. So for every good idea, there's that doubt factor. And that crushes most people right away. They're like, man, I'm not going to be able to do this. So they just don't. But I think the key is to know that if you can take that huge idea and break it down into small steps, then you can come face to face with those small steps. And that's a lot larger leap than thinking you can just make this huge project happen. So by breaking it down, knowing what you have to do on a daily basis, knowing the small steps that you just need to take over and over and over again, which will get you to the big thing, that really helps me out a lot. So I used to have a lot of self-doubt, thinking, man, you're going to have this huge idea for a project you want to do, but there's no way you're going to be able to do it. So before I did photography full-time, I started about 4 years ago doing it full-time, I was an engineer. So I did aerospace engineering at Boeing. We were building 777 model jumbo jets. So I did that for 6 years, and it taught me a lot, because it taught me that every build of a massive project, being an airplane, is broken down into single, explicit, small steps from all sides. and they kind of just tree up and up and up until the big thing. So part of my job was when they would have airplanes come through the assembly line, and during the manufacturing process there's damage to the airplane, and you can't necessarily take the whole airplane apart at that point to take out a part. So our job was to design the repairs that would go onto these airplanes. We would write out a repair step by step by step, taking the engineering knowledge, proving all the numbers good so everything would hold up for the life of the aircraft, so on and so forth. And then we would break those down step by step, and we would send that with our approval out to the shop or manufacturing, and they would follow those steps to build the aircraft out. So now that I'm doing photography full time, that was a really beneficial factor for me in my life, is saying, hey, large projects are always broken down into these small steps. If you can get up and conquer small steps on a daily basis, and you can go along your problem-solving technique with small steps, eventually your problem-solving techniques will get better and better and better as you do this consistently every day. So you're just training yourself for problem-solving. So by training yourself for problem-solving every day, getting these small steps to your huge goal completed, you're building that self-confidence again and again and again. And then you see the project completed. You get another boost of self-confidence. It's, hey, maybe I won't fail at this project. And then you get another one completed and you say, okay, why do I think I'm going to fail at these projects? Every one in the past, they might have not turned out exactly like I thought, but I completed them because I had the problem-solving techniques to make those small decisions along the way. So over time, you just build up this confidence, not like a gloating, I'm awesome confidence, but a confidence that says, if I have self-doubt, if I don't think something's going to work out the way I want it to, well, I just need to remember that in the past, I've solved all the small steps to get to the big destination or the big project goal or objective that I'm aiming for. So that's really helped me out to gain self-confidence and quitting an aerospace engineering job that paid very well and starting my own photography business, which I'm watching grow and grow and grow every year. And I'm picking projects or objectives that kind of scare me at first, that make me uneasy, and then I just break them down to the smallest steps and go after them. So every 3 to 6 months I have a new project I'm working on, and as I see those complete, my confidence builds, and I'm not getting cocky, I'm saying my confidence builds in the fact that I can complete the next project after that, and I could keep making these bigger and bigger ideas and see where I can kind of take it. So I got a question the other day asking me about motivation or how I stay motivated. I don't do a bunch of like foo-foo shit to stay motivated. I basically just have one policy. So when I'm sitting around and I feel like I don't want to get on the trail today, I feel like I don't want to go take photos. I was sitting here just a minute ago laughing because I've been wearing this same outfit, these same clothes for the last 3 weeks straight now. I've been in a tent for the last 25 nights. And I was just thinking, man, I do not feel like hiking today. I don't feel like taking photos. I don't feel like doing anything besides checking into a hotel, getting a shower and laying around, drinking some whiskey, and eating like a pizza or something. And then this is the way I stay motivated. So I always think to myself when I have any ideas like that, I could just turn around and go back in. And then I think how fucking good it feels when you get out there and you put in a lot of miles every day. You're being active all day, and you're taking photos and you're being creative all day. Once I can get into that for the first 30 minutes or an hour of the day, so like leaving camp, as soon as I get into hiking and taking photos for the first 30 minutes, I'll be back in it, and I don't have that resistance or that urge to quit and go back and leave the trip. So I just have to make sure I get into that first 30 minutes, and I think how good that feels once you do that for the whole day and you create a bunch of cool new shit. Then I also think of how bad it feels when you go back in from a trip or some part of the trip falls apart and you can't complete it, and how shitty that feels when you get back to your vehicle and you're like, fuck, I blew it, or I didn't plan well enough, or it didn't work out, and how shitty that feels in your head, and I don't want to be in that place. So I think of those two things, how good it feels when you get out there and get after it and create all day, and how bad it feels when I fail. I hate that shit. So that's an easy way for me to stay motivated, but you have to have a plan or steps to follow. So if you have the first thing, just get up and get after it and start right away and start creating stuff and get into the day, and any of that resistance that keeps you from being motivated will kind of just shut up as soon as you get into it. So that's a key thing that I do. And also just having a plan or like a step-by-step thing that I'm currently working on. So I have a few projects going at once, and I always know the next action or the next step within that project. So as soon as I feel unmotivated, I've trained myself just to start working on the next action or the next step in that project. And within, I don't know, a half an hour, like before, I'll get into that project, and the motivation factor of being unmotivated just completely goes away. I don't think about it anymore. So just get in the habit of getting up and using those two techniques, thinking how bad it feels when you fail or don't do something or are lazy for the day, and think how good it feels after that first half an hour when you just get out there and kind of get after it and do your step by step by step, your next actions and your project you're working on, whatever else you're going after in your life right now. So at this point in my life, I am very self-confident. I used to have self-doubt maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, pretty badly. Not serious self-doubt, but kind of scared about if I could complete the objectives that I wanted to in my life. At this point in my life, I would say I'm very confident because I know that if a problem arises, whenever it does, I have the ability in problem solving to step up and solve that problem. So I'm not necessarily worried about all these different problems coming in all the time. If I think or have a foresight about a problem coming in my head, I'll just say, okay, well, any problem that comes along, you can solve that problem or you'll be able to figure it out, so don't worry about it. So that keeps me from having self-doubt in that area. But in terms of having self-doubt about creating stuff or putting out artistic work on a consistent basis, here's the best way that I've found to do it. Doesn't mean it'll work for you, but you have to have different projects you're working on that mean something to you or that you really care about. So I like to have 2 or 3 projects going at a time where I'm creating different kinds of material. It could be photos, videos, writing blog posts, whatever else. So I like to have 3 large specific projects I'm working on. And then each of those projects is pared down into sections and the steps that I need to kind of complete in those sections. So the whole project is broken down into step by step by step by step. And whenever I used to have self-doubt about my confidence in completing something or my confidence in success a few years ago, I would just look at the project that I was motivated to work on. I would look at the next step in that project that I need to do, and then I'd just go do it. I'd look at the next step after that one, and then just go do it. And you get up every day and you just follow those next steps, which are fairly small, and you start to complete large-scale projects. You start to have success in them. You start to go up and up and up, which gives you self-confidence, and it kind of continues to go in a cycle as you complete more and more of these individual small steps. I think if you don't have the small steps written out on a piece of paper or a computer, you can't really physically see yourself completing each of those each day. But when you have them written out and you can go through a checklist and cross them off, you can look down all the past steps that you've completed and been successful with. So when you have self-doubt about a project or something you're working on, you could say, okay, why am I having doubt? I have all these steps that I've completed already. All I have to do is go on the next step in my project list until it's complete. It's a complete framework or a workflow. It's not about having this extreme artistic nature or you have a special given talent for photography. You might, but that's all bullshit because you can just step up and you can have self-confidence by saying, what's the next step of my project? How do I complete it? So I'm not a big believer in all this foo-foo like he has a natural artistic talent or he's a natural painter. The people that are the most prolific get up, they look at what they have to do, and they start going through the small steps to get them to where they want to go. And that might be an artist, that might be anybody that's trying to build shit. So if you ever have self-doubt, this might work for you. It worked for me. Doesn't mean it will work for you, but you can give it a try. Break all your projects down into single steps. Get up every day and work at those steps, and you'll see the past confidence build as you check more and more off your list. And as you complete projects, you can kind of jump to one project to the next to the next. And over time, that just repetitive cycle makes you believe in yourself, or it makes you believe you can solve any problem that might come up because you're constantly solving problems when going through those steps.